every week. How about the normal players of the week? And these players aren't normal, okay? So I'm not going to talk much about Lucas Giolito. I've already talked about him. I will say that he was 2-0 with a 1.76 ERA in the last 7 days. So kudos to Giolito for taking both of those honors. Well done out of him. But the guy I really want to talk about, and I've talked about him a little bit, how about Trevor Story, folks? Trevor Story on the season is at 293 with 15 homers, 53 runs, 42 RBIs, and 10 stolen bases. But in the last week, guys, talk about video game numbers, Trevor Story is hitting 524. Every other time he's coming up the bat over the past week, he's gotten a hit and then some. 11 of 21, 2 homers, 9 runs in the last 7 days, 7 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. Folks, that's an impact player. You got to call it like you see it, right? So, well done. Well done, Trevor Story. So, there's all your players of the week. I'm doing decent on time, so I'm going to give you some of the guys who I thought were in consideration. It's funny, these players of the week awards come out sometimes Monday night, sometimes Tuesday morning, sometimes Tuesday afternoon. So what I always do, because I really do like doing this bit, is I kind of look at who's hot and kind of try and predict to myself who's going to win the awards, right? So these are guys, and I kind of broke it down. I did a little differently this week into the Porsches and the jalopies. So, who are the Porsches? These guys had great weeks. Let's talk about some of them. Again, Trevor Story we talked about. I won't go into it. How about Austin Riley? We just talked about as well, right? So let's get those guys out of the way first. 316, 3 homers, 4 runs, and 8 RBIs in the last week, guys. Guys, you can't pick up Austin Riley. That's why he's in the Porsche category, right? Just like you can't pick up Austin Meadows. But man, I'll tell you what, how can you not mention him? He had 464 over the last week. 2 homers, 8 runs, 10 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. Guys, I say it all the time. I said it at the time. The Pirates kick themselves daily for getting rid of the talent that they got rid of at the trade deadline last year. It would be awful nice to see Austin Meadows, man in center field for the Pirates. But it wasn't to be, and the Rays are thanking them for it, I'm sure. So, having a good week. He's had a lot of good weeks, right, guys? How about Matt Chapman? Matt Chapman hit 320 over the past week, 3 homers, 5 runs, and 4 RBIs. Again, the A's are ascending. They're getting ready to take off, and Matt Chapman's part of that. Okay, and one guy that maybe you might not consider a Porsche, but he's fast, and he's borderline. It's Starling Marte. Starling Marte over the past week is hitting 361. 2 homers, 7 runs, 6 RBIs, and a stolen base. Guys, Starling Marte, without much recognition, is starting to turn it around. So, maybe if you see if you can trade for him, he will get stolen bases, and that is a premium. So, maybe one of the owners is sleeping. How about the jalopies? And these guys aren't jalopies. I made that a jest, but these guys are guys that are performing. You might be able to pick some of these guys up, okay? And we'll talk about that in the waiver wire segment here in a little bit. And I'm going to go quickly because I got some stuff I do want to talk about coming up next. So stay tuned, guys. If you're with me, in the chat room, let me know. Let me know you're with me, okay? Brian Reynolds, 26% owned. He's at 462. 8 runs, okay? Again, one of the lone bright spots in the Pirates lineup. He's someone that should get a lot of opportunities to score runs in front of Marte and in front of Bell. Okay, Nico Goodrum, well documented. He's hit 357 with 3 home runs over the last week. He's 25% owned. Okay, Garrett Cooper, 370, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, and 8 runs, 6 RBIs. Guys, everybody on this damn network is talking about Garrett Cooper. Rightfully so. He deserves the accolades. If anybody listens to anything on the Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Network, they know about Garrett Cooper. How about Christian Stewart, guys? 385 with a homer, 5 runs, and 4 RBIs. But Christian Stewart's one of those guys that was getting hot before he got hurt. I think he pulled his hamstring. And just now getting back to health. He's only 2% owned, guys. How about Orlando Arcia? Arcia's hit 348, 3 homers, 7 runs, 7 RBIs. He's only 6% owned. Hitting in Miller Park in that lineup. You got to like Orlando Arcia, okay? So, there you have it. Some of our candidates. Moving on. Really interesting. Talking about guys that are ascending. Talking about points of time where you can look at where a guy turned it around, okay? So I've used this positive regression thing in the past. Basically, point to the story. Last year, on May 14th, Paul Goldschmidt and Matt Carpenter were both having terrible years. At that point, they turned it around, okay? So, what are we looking at with Fool's Gold? We're looking at guys that can hit 29 homers from here on out, that can hit 314 from here on out, just like Paul Goldschmidt did last year, okay? We're looking for guys who can hit 33 homers and 284 from here on out, just like Matt Carpenter did. So who are some of those candidates? Here, I've identified some guys who've started to take off just for you guys, okay? You can thank me later when you go target these guys and you get them because the overall numbers don't look great. So, who am I talking about? I'm talking about Starling Marte. Okay, Starling Marte on the year is hit 271. 7 homers, 33 runs, 25 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases. Remember back on May 4th, guys? May 4th, he was hitting 200 with 3 homers, 12 runs, 12 RBIs. Since then, he's hit 312. Since May 4th, Starling Marte, that's a month now, has hit 312. Okay? 4 homers, 22 runs, and 13 RBIs. Over the past week, as I documented, he turned it up another notch. He's hitting 361 with 2 homers, 7 runs, and 6 RBIs. Guys, Starling Marte is starting to take the bull by the horns as the leader of that offense in Pittsburgh, along with Josh Bell. Okay, so buy in on Marte if you can. Here's a guy, David Dahl, on May 21st was hitting 288. 3 homers, 18 runs, and 14 RBIs. Since May 21st, guys, David Dahl has hit 420, okay? Only 2 home runs, but we all know that's going to go up. Denver in the summer is good. 12 runs, 6 RBIs, okay? So, in the last week, again, he hit 464 with 2 homers. Both of his homers over the last 3 weeks came last week. 7 runs and 5 RBIs. Nomar Mazara, on May 10th, was hitting 220, folks. 220 was miserable. I had him. I dropped him. 6 homers, 19 runs, and 21 RBIs. Since then, though, he's hit 346. This dude is streaky as all can be. 2 homers, 14 runs, and 10 RBIs in just 20 games. So, over the past week, he hit both of those home runs. He's hit 414, 8 runs, and 6 RBIs. That's significant if you're playing DFS. You want to key up on this guy while he's hot, okay? No more Mazara, someone to queue up in your DFS lineups. Xander Bogaerts on May 8th was hitting 252. 7 homers, 23 runs and 23 RBIs in 36 games. Since then, 21 games, he's hitting 384. 5 homers, again, just 21 games compared to 36. 24 runs, 16 RBIs. In the last week, he's hitting 462 and he has 3 homers. Guys, Xander Bogaerts is hot. For the sake of time, I'm not going to talk about Trevor Story. We talked about him. He is hot. We all know Trevor Story is hot. So, But here's the bit that I really wanted to talk about, and I think it's really important to kind of talk about these things as we see them. So I ran across this article when I was doing my research, and what it was, it talked about, and it's from the beginning of the year, so these numbers aren't totally accurate, but it shows you perspective wise. You basically just add a couple decimal points onto it, right? So Baseball America has this article, which I'm getting ready to post right now, on the youngest by league on an opening day of 2019. Okay, so why is this important? Why does this matter? Well, I think it's really important because when you look at the charts, they're real telltale. First off, naturally you go into the youngest guys in the majors, right? Which is natural. You look at it. This Elvis Luciano. He's 19 years old. He's a reliever for the Blue Jays. I'm not going to talk about him. But then you look at the next youngest guy in the major leagues. Of course, that's changed because some of these guys have been called up, right? So that's why I want to preface that this isn't the most current list, but I do want to use it for perspective because we're going to talk about some of these guys lower down on the list and how it pertains to philosophies, right? So Gleyber Torres is the next youngest guy at 22 years old, some 3 years older than this dude, right? But you really have, 3 or 4 guys here, 4 or 5 guys right around 25, 22, 23. So just for perspective, in the National League, you got a lot younger players. 2 guys at 20, Tatis and Soto, Bryce Wilson, Ronald Acuna, Victor Robles at 21, and then a plethora of guys at 22, right? But, so, I'll get to my point. What do you see? You see a lot of Padres, and you see a lot of Braves, okay? So, these 2 teams have outstanding farm systems, and they're pushing these players to play ahead of their age group as they come up through the system. Why is this important? Well, if you're playing guys, we've all done it, you go to the playground, or you go to the gym, or you go to the ball field, and you're playing against guys, either way, if you're the younger guy and you're playing against the older guys, you're trying to impress them. You're trying to show them that you belong. So you end up playing to that competition, right? Whereas the exact opposite, if you're the older guy, you kind of, want to teach the new guy a lesson and play a little rougher with them. Bump them around a little bit, throw them high and in. So these guys are all young pups. Okay? So the point of my story is these 2 organizations with these stellar minor league systems, I'm going to read you some of these players. And again, I'm keeping them in the league they're in for the perspective of the time that this article was printed. A lot of them you'll see have moved up since, okay? But the Braves and the Padres have shown this trend where they're pushing these young guys to play above their age group, and I applaud that. So well done, guys. Let's talk about it. So, let's talk about, again, Tatis. In the AAA, you're looking at, Adrian Morejon is 20.1 years old, the second youngest player in the Texas League. Andres Munoz, those are both pitchers, 20.2, and Hudson Potts is a third baseman, is the third youngest player in the Texas League at 20.4 at the time. He's like 20.6 now. So, you got a 20-year-old in the Texas League playing third base. That's someone you want to look out for. Hudson Potts is the name you want to look out for because he's playing against competition that is so much older than him, folks. So let's talk about AAA. Let's talk about some of these guys. Let's talk about some of these guys at AAA, okay? How about Josh, again, been called up, we know. Josh Naylor at 21.8, tied for the third youngest player in the PCL, okay? Arnie talked about this guy earlier. Luis Urias, 21.8, again, tied for the third youngest player in the PCL. These guys, Naylor's already up.